Champions League.
I never arrived to a Champions League game without thinking that we cannot win it. So tomorrow is not an exception. Tomorrow night show it in a big challenge like this in this stadium.
Good evening and welcome to Matchday Live. Big one tonight. Chelsea away to Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League, the Westfalenstadion or Signal Iduna Park. It's 81,000 people are going to be inside there in Germany tonight. Hopefully cheering on a positive result for Graham Potter's Chelsea. Let's have a little look at the team then that Graham Potter has selected for this one. One or two headlines for us that we need to get towards. Obviously, Benoit Badiashile unavailable for this competition, so Kalidou Koulibaly comes into a back four alongside captain Thiago Silva, Reece James one side. Ben Chilwell returns to the starting 11 for Chelsea as well. Ruben Loftus-Cheek alongside Enzo Fernandez in the middle of midfield, and then a front four of Mikhailo Mudryk, Joao Felix, Kai Havertz and Hakim Ziyech reinstated to the starting 11 as well. A lot of people maybe having question marks over who's going to start this one tonight. Chelsea obviously have a very good record against German teams, and you just saw the graphic a few moments ago against... let's have a little look at the Dortmund team, though, the team that hopefully Chelsea will be getting something over this evening in the Westfalenstadion. One or two familiar faces in there, with Emre Can, of course, formerly of Liverpool. Niklas Süle at centre-half, who used to play for Bayern Munich, who Chelsea have come up against in the Champions League before. Jude Bellingham captains the Borussia Dortmund team for this evening. And Sebastian Haller up front, a player that Chelsea will remember from Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League a few years ago. Played for West Ham United as well, went to Ajax and has recovered this season from testicular cancer. So fantastic news to see him starting up front for Borussia Dortmund tonight. There's going to be so much noise inside the Westfalenstadion this evening. Julian Brandt on the right-hand side, Adeyemi on the left. Plenty of puzzles for Chelsea to try and work out over the course of these next two legs. Edin Terzic has been speaking in the press about his admiration for Graham Potter. Likewise, Graham Potter has been speaking about his admiration for the German manager as well. So yeah, there's a lot in that tonight. We're looking forward to it. And especially, wherever you are this evening, I want you to get involved as well. So we're going to do the Wherever You Go War, which is going to be from wherever you are in the world. I want you to send your pictures in, your selfies, using the hashtag Wherever You Go, and we can see where you're tuning in from tonight all across the world. It's going to be a good evening, and fingers crossed, a historic evening as Chelsea can look to continue their progression in the UEFA Champions League this evening. Right, we sent the boys out. As you can notice, I'm in the studio on my own because we sent the boys out on a little bit of a hunt to see what sort of Europa League and Champions League and European competitions that they can find scattered around Stamford Bridge. I think Kwaku and Dan have headed over to the Stadium Museum because there's going to be plenty in there, including one or two Champions League trophies. I wonder if they've seen those. Over to you, boys.
The Champions League returns. We are all very, very excited about it. Kwaku, we do pretty well in this competition. You know, we've got two beautiful Champions League trophies behind us, looking to make it a third, starting today.
Look at that trophy draped in blue. It just feels right. It feels like our trophy. And when it comes to European nights, Chelsea just seem to turn it on, especially over the last decade or so. So we've got Borussia Dortmund, who are a tough test, but I definitely think we've got a chance to win this trophy if we get past them.
Now, it's our first time playing them in the Champions League, so we probably don't have much of a yardstick to go off. They are in good form. I think they've got 6 from 6 since the return. We are not in the greatest of form, but we are showing promising signs. But I think we can rip up the script. When it comes to the Champions League, we do it the difficult way. And we always do it when people least expect us to do it. What happens today?
It's a difficult one. It's hard to predict because, like you say, we've shown glimpses in spells in the league. But the Champions League is a bit of respite for us. We can kind of forget the league form where we've not been going as well as we would have liked, and look to the Champions League where we have played well. We've got some decent results under Graham Potter, especially against AC Milan. And I think that with these new signings and with the way that we're playing football, I feel like we can get a result against Borussia Dortmund, but we do need to be on our A game.
Now, in this competition, you know, there are giants everywhere. And if you're anything like me, I'm sure you are, you would have kept a close eye on our competition. And there's not really that much to be scared of. If Chelsea are able to find some form and get some momentum, we're a good match for anybody in this competition. We've shown a rich history already. We are European giants. You know, we're 2-time winners. What are we going to have to do? What team do you want to see put out? How do we have to attack it? Do we have to attack it in a no-fear kind of way? Or are we going to go there and try and be a bit more cautious? It's a little bit weirder now because we don't have the away goals.
That's it. There's a combination of both of those things. So we have to go in there and attack it and show no fear, but also have to lean on the experiences of our players like Thiago Silva, who's been there, done that, worn the T-shirt for multiple teams. He's a player that's definitely going to come to the fore at a game like this. And I feel like if we play our A game, there's no reason why we can't go there and get the win that we need or get the result that we need to make sure we progress to the quarter-final.
If we can't find a way to do it straight away today and we have to go to penalties, we are a team that seems to do pretty well in the Champions League with penalties. There's more than a few big penalty takers in our team, and a few big moments that we've won. You know, we won it in 2012 with penalties. Are you any good at penalties?
I'm decent. I've got a dodgy knee, so I'm getting the excuses in early.
Do you know what it is? I say it just because I look behind me, I can see a ball, I can see Manuel Neuer in the back, and I think we might need to just get some practice. Fancy it?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll see that in a bit. We paused it for the moment, but we will see that in a bit. Dan and Kwaku having a go at the penalty shootout challenge. I know Dan's got a bit about him. I haven't seen Kwaku play football, but again, I think he's got a bit about him, so we'll find out a little bit more. We'll continue to build up to Chelsea away at Borussia Dortmund in the UEFA Champions League round of 16. I'm delighted to say I'm joined by German football expert, European football expert, Mark Lavelle. Mark, good evening. How are you, mate? Are you well?
I'm well, Joe. Good to speak to you again. Yeah, looking forward to a good game tonight in Dortmund.
Absolutely. Pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much for your time. I want to speak to you about Borussia Dortmund because, again, you know, there's lots of things that Chelsea fans will look to. We've noticed a certain Jude Bellingham wearing the captain's armband this evening. How important has he been for them and how good is he from a Germany perspective? Because we know in an England shirt we've seen him how brilliant he is, but how good is he?
Well, he's 19 years old. He's the captain of the side, the driving force, the talisman. He provides he's a real all-round player. At just 19, the coach, Terzic, calls him the oldest 19-year-old in the world. You know, he's such a player at 19 years old, and it's just going to be a pleasure to watch him develop over the next decade. A lot of talk, of course, of a move, even at 19, just so much ahead of him. But this Dortmund team is not just about Jude Bellingham. They have a lot of talent in all areas of the pitch.
Absolutely. And I mean, to be fair, Terzic didn't see me at 19, Mark, so I had grey hairs then. So again, you know, you can only judge it on what you've seen, of course. But you mentioned this Dortmund team is a very good side. They've been faultless since coming back from the World Cup, haven't they? I think they've won every game they've been involved in. Again, how good are we talking about a Borussia Dortmund team? Because nostalgically, you look back at the teams of the past, you know, the team that got to the Champions League final with Lewandowski, and again, even further back, teams that have won it were Paul Lambert in '97 for Borussia Dortmund. They've had brilliant teams over the decades. How good is this one in comparison?
Well, they're on a tremendous run, Joe. Those 6 wins out of 6 to start the year, and that's their best win to start the year since the days of Klopp in 2010 and 11 when they ended up winning the double. So that provides an indication of the current form. I have my doubts, though, that they'll be able to carry on that winning impetus. They've had very high expectations in recent years, and they haven't always lived up to that billing. Of course, they're fighting the battle every year with Bayern Munich, and they've lost that battle in the Bundesliga specifically 10 years in a row. So I still have my reservations. They're riding the crest of the wave at the moment, but that provides an opportunity for Chelsea, who come into the game not in good form and with lower expectations than they usually have on European soil. And there'll be less pressure on Chelsea tonight, and they might thrive on that. Might being the operative word.
From a Chelsea perspective, I hope they don't. But I appreciate how dangerous they are. Just in terms of the Borussia Dortmund team itself, I mentioned a little bit a few moments ago about Sebastian Haller. What a brilliant story that is to have him back involved in the team for Borussia Dortmund. And from a football fan's perspective, how brilliant it is to see him playing football again, because he's a terrific footballer and he's been through so much. So yeah, I'm sure he'll get a rapturous reception when he plays here at Stamford Bridge in a few weeks' time. But not just Sebastian Haller, but also, is there another player within that Borussia Dortmund team that you think Chelsea fans should keep an eye on this evening that perhaps we haven't seen a huge amount of prior to tonight?
Yeah, I expect Julian Brandt to have he'd be one to watch. He played together with Kai Havertz at Leverkusen. He generally goes under the radar, but he's been a real impressive player for Dortmund this season. Julian Brandt, he can play anywhere across midfield, wide areas. He has an eye for goal. He sets up goals, and he's a player to watch tonight for me. And Haller, you just mentioned, he has a really impressive pedigree in the Champions League. 11 goals in just 8 games. So for Ajax, which led to his move to Borussia Dortmund in the first place. So those are 2 key players away from the wonderful, talented Jude Bellingham.
Absolutely. And just on the substitutes bench as well, there is a young lad, Bino Gittins, who we can't claim because he was at Cobham at a young age, but I think he was at under-8s, under-9 sort of area when he was at Chelsea. He's obviously gone to pastures new, but again, a very, very exciting talent. How good is he? Because obviously the comparisons in the UK have very much been, as soon as you see a young English talent doing well at Borussia Dortmund, you immediately put them on the same sort of level of Jude Bellingham territory. Well, I guess that's quite dangerous because he can be a fantastic player in his own right, can't he?
Absolutely, he will be. He's just 18, and he's able to fly under the radar a little bit because of Bellingham at 19. And he's been used in recent games, scoring goals, coming on as an impact sub, and he's likely to come on as a sub second half for Dortmund in front of the yellow wall there. It's going to be a really tremendous atmosphere, 80-odd thousand fans. Important for Chelsea to keep the fans quiet in the early 20 minutes.
Just on that, actually, Mark, because, again, I'm sure every football fan on the planet or every football geek that I would put myself in that bracket for, Borussia Dortmund and going to the Westfalenstadion is one of those where it's at the top of the bucket list. You see the pictures, how incredible it looks, the atmosphere, how good it is. As someone that's been to games in Dortmund, for us that haven't, can you talk us through how important that atmosphere is and what part that will play tonight?
Chelsea need to keep the fans quiet for as long as possible. If the fans, have plenty to celebrate early on in the game, it's going to be a tough task for Chelsea. Chelsea need to retain possession of the ball, keep it quiet, no panic, and really, play to their strengths. And Graham Potter, that's the sort of football that he likes to play. It's going to be a really interesting test, though, whether the players are up to the job in such a really hot atmosphere.
Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on the show tonight. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for that. So,
thanks, Joe. All the best.
Thank you very much. So there we go. We know how difficult it's going to be. It's going to be a tough task in Dortmund this evening. It's also going to be a tough task to pick a winner between who's going to win the penalty shootout challenge, Dan or Kwaku. I'm not sure. Let's have a look.
Well, as penalty shootouts go, it doesn't get much more iconic than this. The famous 2012 shootout, Didier Drogba dispatching the final penalty, Frank Lampard, David Luiz, Ashley Cole also putting it in the back of the net. Is there a bigger moment in our history?
Nah, never. It's my favourite moment in terms of being a Chelsea fan. When Didier slots that one in and you find out you are European champions, there's nothing better than that. I was there that night. I was in Munich, up the other end. But it was absolutely incredible, and I don't think anything will really top that unless we win it this year.
Well, it wasn't that bad. I was there in Porto when we won it in 2021. It wasn't that bad then, but look, I will happily win a Champions League any day of the week, any day. Were any of these penalties your favourite? Is there anyone that you look at and you're like, that's the most significant?
Ashley Cole's was pretty important because unfortunately Juan Mata missed the first one. A lot of pressure taking the one after the person who's missed. He slotted it away and then we went from there. We didn't really look back. So I'd probably say Ashley's, but David Luiz as well, a player who got lambasted a lot that season, and he just puts it, bins, he hits it as hard as he can. So probably those two, but then Didier's was great and Frank's was great. I love all of them.
I've asked you for one and you've given me them all. I think you started with Ashley Cole's mainly because it's the one you think you could hit, which is why I'm probably going to go for Didier Drogba. I'm going to ask you, seeing as Ashley Cole was your first name, to try and slot it.
Oh, here we go then. Ashley Cole. He's left foot. I'm going to do left foot.
He doesn't have it in his locker to go left foot. Oh, so close. I think we're going to count that. We're going to count it. And do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to try and slot Didier's.
Here we go. Savage Dan going for the winning penalty. Can he do it? Oh, close but no cigar.
Luckily, we already won that Champions League, so that actually meant nothing. Another big one today. Hopefully, Chelsea can get a good result, bring it back to the bridge, would you take a score draw or a draw? It doesn't even matter anymore without the goal difference. But
yeah, I definitely think a score draw would be a positive result for Chelsea. I just want to see a good performance, and I think the result will follow. So a score draw would be a decent result, and that's what I think the result will be. But you wouldn't be surprised to see Chelsea nick it.
I think we will get. I think we're due a good performance and a rewarding win. I feel like it's been almost there for a while. And thankfully, we will never have to take a penalty in today's fixture or in the one in a couple of weeks, so everyone's safe.
Thank goodness for that. We'll have a chat about that later on in the show because I'm very disappointed in both the boys. Thankfully, like Dan said, they're not going to be 12th or 13th taker if this tie does eventually go to penalties. Hopefully not, though. Chelsea away at Borussia Dortmund this evening in the round of 16 of the UEFA Champions League. Let's hand over now to our commentary team of Max and Pat.
Thank you very much, Joe, and thanks as well to the guys taking the penalties as well. From one iconic Champions League moment against the German side to hopefully another one. Alongside me to take in tonight's game is Pat Nevin. And Pat, in terms of European football arenas, they don't get much more impressive than this one, do they?
Yeah, first of all, let's not go back to penalty kicks. We're going swiftly for that one. To be honest, it is one of the most stunning arenas. Last night I was at San Siro, and this one tonight. And you look at what the arenas are, but also the noise you get, and the fact that they are pure football arenas. I mean, I put this one right up there. I mean, there's few. Marseille, if you go to Marseille, it's like that as well. Celtic Park, I have to say, on a European night is like that. But it's one of the massive, iconic ones. Not just because of the numbers, but because of the support, the way they get behind the team, the way they can suck a ball into the net, and they can do that. And people talk about other clubs like, Liverpool famously. I don't think it comes close to this. I really don't think it comes close. So, in simple terms, it's a big call. It's a lot to ask for the young players. I don't think our youngsters are worried. I think they're very cool. I don't think Enzo's going to be sitting there thinking, oh, I'm worried, sick about this. I think he's a player who's got utter, complete, total confidence in his ability. And if you played in one or two quite important games like he's played in, and I don't think it's going to affect him. So I think good players will be lifted by it.
81,000 this holds in here, and twice they have matched, or they have sold out in the Champions League already this season. However, on both of those occasions, they failed to win, Pat. They are coming into this game on 3 consecutive draws. Maybe we're looking at a draw as the minimum, and then we shoot for the victory as well. That seems to be what the guys are saying just then.
Well, that would be the hope, but it's the simplest one. It's an old cliche in football, and the reason why it's a cliche is because it's true. Be in the tie. Make sure you're in the time when you come back. Now, if that means, a single goal defeat, you're going to come back, and if you've played well and you've created chances, you think, right, we can do that. So, absolutely capable of coming back and not panic there at all. But I think we're perfectly capable of getting a result, i.e. a win or a very narrow loss. But we need to get a little bit lucky now and again. We need to get some of our best players on the best form. Now, Kai, you look at him. How much would it mean to Kai Havertz to score? And he's quite good at scoring important goals, isn't he? We know that. And there's so many players you could talk about, but we're waiting for one or two players, and Kai's one of the ones that you would think, if anyone's going to get one tonight, could be him.
It is interesting you mentioned Kai Havertz. Famously, against Borussia Dortmund, it's the longest that he's gone, or the most games that he's gone, without scoring against a single opponent. As you mentioned, one here would do him the world of confidence. Another player who we're both excited to see, and we're both big fans of, at left-back, Ben Chilwell, coming back into the starting 11. I mean, 2 sub-appearances in recent weeks. It's great to see that Graham Potter's got that faith in him and his body as well to start right from the beginning.
I think every Chelsea fan knows that when you've got Chile and James, recent Chile, either side, I mean, it makes a massive difference to Chelsea. If both of them are playing at their very, very best, they are 2 of our best attackers. The left back and the right back are the best attackers. So yeah, Chile coming back is major for us. Now, there are full backs as well today. They're not wing backs. I think they both rather play a little bit further forward when they can, but it doesn't matter. Oddly enough, this becomes very, very important for 2 other players, because I expect and hope that Chile will get forward, because he wants to do it. And I think as each game goes from his fitness getting better, he's going to get forward more and more. Big call for Ruben. big call for Enzo. Need cover. You need to see the danger, you need to see the problem, and if they go, they go. I mean, lots of teams play with a 4 at the back and both full-backs go, but the call is the intelligence. I'm not worried about Enzo, he can do that, don't worry.
And for Kalidou Koulibaly as well, we've seen him play on the left side of a back four in terms of the two centre-backs. He's going to need to be on it as well as he returns to the starting lineup.
Yeah, probably he's got the hardest job of any Chelsea player, I would say, tonight. You know, he's been out for a period of time, there's been injuries, other players have been, you know, played in front of him, and there's youngsters there, you know, they're breathing down his neck, but he's got an opportunity tonight. He's used to European football, you know, he's done it before, he understands it, so he won't be spooked by it in any way. But you know, it's like, you know, right at the start of his career with Chelsea, that goal, that first game, you think, wow, if he could have a really good, big, early moment in a game like this. He's got one other thing in his favour. You know, the biggest thing he's got in his favour is a bloke called Thiago Silva. You've got him playing beside you. It doesn't half help a huge amount. So, big game for him tonight, and he will have to be absolutely at his wits about him at every single moment of the game, because there will be times now in a game where there'll be 1-on-1, and you can't dive in. You've got to cover.
The Chelsea centre-backs combined tonight, making, well, 140 appearances in this competition before, right? So plenty of experience. It's a familiar stage for both of them, but this is an unfamiliar stage for Chelsea in terms of Borussia Dortmund away for the very first time. So we sent Lee to have a look around the stadium.
Hello and welcome to Dortmund. It's the calm before the storm, so I thought I'd give you a quick guided tour. Let's take you behind the scenes, shall we? This is the walk that the players will make as they arrive at the stadium. Down these steps. Now the first thing we'll see as we come through here is what we call the flash media positions. This is where the players will be doing all their post-match TV interviews. Then follow us down these stairs and we'll take you out to the pitch. Look at this, it's very cool. No doubt where we are, look at that. It's very close. Everything is very tight. And we're going to talk about atmosphere in a second, actually, as we come out into the ground. There we go. An incredible view. Expect in the region of 80,000 fans here come kickoff. That stand alone, if you can see behind the goal there with the terraced area, will house 25,000 fans. And the Chelsea fans, well, they'll be up in that corner there. Quick look at the benches. That is where Graham Potter and the coaching staff and the subs will be. Opposite numbers over there. Have a look at the pitch, shall we, while we're here. Pretty impressive playing surface. Very slick. What a stadium. What a night we have in store. Enjoy.
Oh, it looks stunning, doesn't it? At the Signal Iduna Park, or the Westfalenstadion for football purists all around the world. Lee Parker in there for us over in Dortmund. Back in the studio with the boys. Quaker and Dan are here. We'll get to that in a second, but I've also got to introduce back to the show. Welcome, Elizabeth. Good evening. How are you? Oh, we can't hear you. Just...
I'm muted. Can you hear me now? Yes. Okay. I'm doing good. I just hosted a Twitter space for Chelsea FC in the USA, and I have massive technology problems. So I'm feeling really bad about that. But I'm good. Very excited for the match. Already have those nervous butterflies. How are you guys doing?
Oh, absolutely. Before we get to that, because you've mentioned technical problems, we've got a little one, actually, that I think on your penalty, Dan, actually, I think there was 1 or 2 technical issues, because I don't know about you, mate, but I saw it bounce out. I didn't see it go anywhere near the goal, and I've heard a lot from you over the last 3 years.
This is what I was really impressed by.
I've known you a long time now. West London's finest baller, you've told me on numerous occasions.
I was really impressed by the CGI, because I was not expecting to see that myself. When I came back up and I heard that I missed the penalty.
Oh, I mean, to be honest with you,
it looks realistic, doesn't it?
Quaker, rule number 1, hit the target.
Got to hit target.
Hit the target. Got to hit the target.
Got to work the goalkeeper.
Got to hit the target. Technique was all right. I like the technique. The run-up was a bit lapsed again. if you
listen, laser in the eye. The away fans.
Yeah, I feel, it happens, and it happens. The pressure got to him.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't speak too much. We'll bring the other replay out. Elizabeth, just talking about, because obviously Borussia Dortmund away is a fantastic venue to go. You know, I want to talk to you about actually a fairly reminiscent one. Actually, it feels a little bit like the Real Madrid game in the Champions League run when we won the Champions League, because it feels a little bit like you're going to a big cathedral of football. You know, you've got to go and show that you're at that level. And I think if I remember correctly, you were there, weren't you, at the Real Madrid game?
I was. I talk about it all the time.
It feels like it, though, doesn't it? It feels similar.
The Bernabeu, obviously, it's an incredible, iconic stadium, and I was lucky enough to go. I was actually sat with the Real Madrid fans because I couldn't get a ticket to the Chelsea away end. So I was sat with all the Real Madrid fans, trying to contain myself anytime Chelsea scored. And I have to say, the fans in that stadium were just absolutely incredible. The Chelsea fans completely silenced the Real Madrid fans. And so I'm hoping for a little bit more of the same tonight. I think it's going to be a really good game. Obviously, Chelsea love a UCL match. They love an away match as well. I think that we do really well under pressure and kind of being the underdogs a little bit when we're playing away from home. So I'm really keen to see how this one plays out.
And also, you know, it felt like on that night, you go through that Champions League run and you think of individual sort of standout performances. Mason Mount over the 2 legs against Real Madrid was phenomenal. Yeah. The Olivier Giroud game, against Sevilla, he played unbelievably well. Atletico Madrid away, had to dig deep. I think Timo Werner was brilliant in those games as well. You have those standout moments. Obviously, tonight, we welcome back Reece James and Ben Chilwell, who are both starting, which is a massive plus. But also, you look at Mykhailo Mudryk, who had such an impressive group stage with Shakhtar Donetsk when he was over there with them. This, again, it could be one of those breakout performances where we're talking about a specific player and what a place to do it if you can get a performance like that from them tonight.
Absolutely. And I love that we're finally seeing Reece James and Ben Chilwell back together. It's the first time actually since we played AC Milan in the Champions League. And we all know what a brilliant game we put on at the San Siro. So I think that they're going to be key to how we play today, because just going forward, they provide so much in their defensive presence. I'm really also excited to see the combination play between Mudryk and Ben Chilwell. I think that could potentially be something special. And Mudryk, just with his pace, that he's going to keep that Dortmund defense on their toes. They really need to be cognizant of him. So I think that he could be one of the ones, like you mentioned, to have a standout performance. And he rocked the Champions League group stages, so hopefully he can continue that amazing form for Chelsea versus Dortmund.
Oh, fingers crossed. Quaker, there's a lot of players tonight you're looking at and thinking this could be your crowning moment, you know. And again, you're looking at someone like Enzo Fernandez, who's only been in the door a couple of weeks, but what a test tonight when you're up against Jude Bellingham and Emre Can in the middle of the park. They've got 3 in there, but again, if you play well tonight, this is a kind of performance that Chelsea fans 5, 6, 7 years down the line are going, that night in Dortmund, Enzo was phenomenal.
Yeah, European nights are always special. We still sing the Dennis Wise song. Mason Mount carved out his legacy, or part of the Chelsea legacy, with the through ball to Kai Havertz in the Champions League final. Kai Havertz, who leads the line for us tonight, is always going to be remembered fondly by Chelsea fans because of the goal he scored in the Champions League final. So these are nights that make your Chelsea career, really. And we've got a lot of new players. Like I said before, it feels like new toys that we've got to play with. And you look at the quality of players that we've brought in, you look at Enzo Fernandez, and I'm particularly paying attention to Mudryk, who I think with the high line of Borussia Dortmund, he will have the opportunity to get in behind, and we saw him struggle a little bit against West Ham, who play a bit more of a low block, but that space in behind, that combination play with Ben Chilwell, hopefully will pay dividends for us. So I'm keeping my eye on Mudryk for somebody to really sparkle and set the Champions League night alight.
I'm leaving it a little bit more open to you, Dan, because every time I see you, you have that glint in your eye and you tell me this could be our year. And it does feel like when things aren't quite going to plan for Chelsea Football Club, something always shows that this could be the one.
Yeah, honestly, it just has all the familiar symptoms of a Chelsea Cup run. Again, I think the fact that we are playing Dortmund for the first time ever will add a little bit of spice to this. I think Dortmund will be under a little bit of pressure to take the game to us. They're in good form, 6 wins on the bounce. I think it is 80,000 fans thereabouts wanting them to take the game to Chelsea, but you have to be very careful when you have a Mudryk going the other way, and you've got plenty of players. You know, we've shown glimpses of really being able to hurt teams. We haven't sustained it recently, and we haven't been able to do it for 90 minutes, but it's coming soon, and I'm sure every fan can see it. We are due not just a good performance, but a really good result. And Dortmund need to be quite careful, if you ask me, that they just don't run into a Chelsea team that is really in the mood. And I'm not sure about everyone else, but I am really in the mood.
Yeah, same. You talk about the yellow wall, this could be a blue bulldozer tonight, and we're about to knock it down. You've got to be careful, because like you say, we've had a few dodgy results, but this could be the night to really get our season back on track, and we love a European night at Chelsea, so I'm confident.
I love that, blue bulldozer. That's going to be... There you go, that's written tomorrow morning. You can have that already. Right, let's move on to shoot, pass, clear. 3 scenarios. We decide which is going to be shoot, the most likely. Pass, might happen, might not happen. Or clear, something that we really don't think will happen this evening. 3 scenarios. Let's have a little look at what we've got this evening. So, Chelsea to score the opening goal, Enzo Fernandez to assist, or Kepa 4 or more saves. Elizabeth, I'm going to start with you then. What are you saying? Shoot, pass, clear.
Okay, I'm trying to remember what the options were. Okay, so Chelsea to score opening goal, Enzo assist, or Kepa to make more than 4 saves. Okay. I'm going to shoot. I'm going to shoot the Chelsea score the opening goal. I don't know. I'm just feeling confident today. And then I'm going to pass the Enzo assist. I do think that it could be quite likely to happen, especially that Enzo times Joao Felix collab that we saw versus West Ham. So I think that's one of the ones that could happen, but we also have other players that could provide assists. And then I'm going to clear the Kepa saves, basically because I hope that he doesn't have to make too many saves in this game.
I like your thinking. I like that outcome. Quaker, let's have a look at what you've gone for tonight then. So you've gone... Yeah.
Shoot.
Very similar.
Yeah, no, you're Chelsea. You've got to pick shoot for Chelsea to score the opening goal. That's what we're all hoping for. The pass, Kepa 4 more saves. You're going away against Borussia Dortmund, who are one of the most informed teams in Europe. So I think Kepa's going to have a good night. So I've gone for that pass and clear Enzo Fernandez assist. It's a very specific option. I know he got the assist against West Ham, but hopefully he doesn't have to come into play because our attacking players will do that job for him.
Nice. Dan, let's have a look at what you've gone for then, mate.
I think I just stayed pretty confident. I think that's exactly the same as what Elizabeth has said.
Same, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I fancy us to score on the break quite early, and I just feel like if I'm going to be really confident, I may as well get Enzo an assist as well.
Just will it into happen. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, why not? Why not? Make sure if you're playing along at home, let us know what yours are in the comments down below or wherever you're watching. Let's do the trivia then, because this is always a tough part of the show, part that we all lose sleep over the night before, to be honest, because we haven't had a great record in this recently. This is today's question. Who was the first German team we played in the Champions League? That's tough. OK, so, Elizabeth, what are you thinking immediately? My first instincts were I remember Chelsea playing Bayern Munich because Frank Lampard scored that wonderful goal. It's going to have to be... Although that was European competition, did it say? Or Champions League?
That said Champions League.
OK, Champions League. So we're looking early 2000s, aren't we?
Yeah.
I remember Frank scoring that brilliant goal from almost the byline against Bayern Munich where he's lofted it over right into the far corner. Any thoughts, Elizabeth, immediately?
My initial thought as well was Bayern Munich, but I'm second guessing that because I feel like that's an obvious choice. So maybe that's too obvious and it's something else.
That's a good point. Quaker, what are you thinking?
I think the Bayern Munich shout's decent. It has to be within that kind of era, I think, like maybe 04, 05 type of time. So I'll stick with the Bayern Munich pick as well.
I'm going to go Schalke.
Schalke came to mind when it first come up on the screen.
When we're thinking about it as well, it is... Bayer Leverkusen were big hitters in early 2000, Michael Ballack kind of era.
Werder Bremen were even around.
Werder Bremen's not a bad shout. Wolfsburg, in and out. Schalke as well. There's not too many that we can decipher because we know that we've not played Dortmund before.
Yes.
so we can kind of
4 more.
Yeah, we can tick them off. Out of the 4 or 5, we could probably come to some sort of thought process. Let's have a little chat about not playing Dortmund before then, Dan, because they're a big team to go away, and similarly to the Real Madrid analogy that we said a little bit earlier, it's almost strange that we've not come up against them in the past. Yeah. We know what they're about. We've looked at them from afar for a long, long time. You know the players they've got. There's no real secrets to Borussia Dortmund. They're very good at what they do. Yeah. Is the challenge today to go and impose yourself rather than get a result?
I think so. I don't think it's as important without the away goals. I think you want to stay in the tie. But I feel like this Chelsea team is a little bit more fearless than we think. A lot of new players. We have Chile and restarting for the first time in a long time. I think the atmosphere might be okay, and I think we're a bit of an unknown quantity. You know, I think we've not had the rub of the green recently, and you know, perhaps games that we should have won, we haven't won. So at times like this, I feel like when our back's against the wall, we kind of come out swinging. And I personally think we will try and have a look early doors, and I think once we realise there's not that much to be scared of, we'll start taking it to them.
Oh, I like this. I'm starting to feel more confident. I really, really am. Right, let's have a little look at where you're checking in from this evening on the Wherever You Go wall with our friends from Trivago. Don't forget to use that hashtag Wherever You Go. Let us know where you're watching in from. Look at Didier Drogba on the left. Go on, supporting from Orlando, Florida. That's amazing. I'm not sure that's a real picture from the moon in the middle, but we'll take it nonetheless. And Nairobi as well. Fantastic work. Thank you very much. You use that hashtag Wherever You Go. Let us know where you're watching from this evening. Bring us a little bit of luck. Bring us a little bit of support as well. And hopefully at full time we can all be celebrating all over the world. Let's continue talking about the build-up then, Elizabeth, because it's a big, big game. It's a big test as well for a lot of these players. But I have also seen a stat say Graham Potter can become the first English manager in history to win his first 6 Champions League games, I think it is, from this evening, which, again, is a big marker to lie down. If you're going into a Champions League run and all you're tasting is victories, you'll start to feel that. You'll start to feel that momentum, and that can push you on a long way.
Definitely. And I just look back to Chelsea's form in the group stages, and we started off a little bit slow, but then we really took off, and there was a lot of pressure playing AC Milan. We needed to win those games, and we did win those games. So I do think, looking at the starting 11, it looks like a really strong team. I'm confident in what Graham Potter has planned and trained with the team, and I think that we can get a result today. And like you mentioned, it just takes one good performance, one good result to start stringing them together and building and building and building. And the other thing is, this is a completely new team, essentially. We have a lot of new players from the transfer window. So the more game time that they get together, they're only going to get better and build more chemistry. So hopefully we can start seeing that come off tonight.
Absolutely. And also, Quaker, when you're thinking back to, especially this season, for me, the standout performance, the one game that I always spring to where I think everything looked like it was working, everything was the best it's been, was AC Milan when we beat them 3-0. Here, brilliant, absolutely brilliant performance. If you're going to stand up and show a performance to show that you mean business, doing it away to Dortmund on a night like tonight might be the catalyst to kick you on the rest of the season. 100%.
These European nights, they're almost in isolation in comparison to the rest of the season, whether they're league games or other cup games. These are different type of nights, and when you put in a good performance midweek, it gives you confidence to then play well for the rest of the season. And we saw that in Graham Potter's unbeaten start to life at Chelsea. Let's not forget that we were unbeaten for a very long time when Graham Potter first walked through the door. And I think that if we can get a result tonight, then that can maybe kickstart our season, and that we can go again in the league and other or in the Champions League as well next time we play against Borussia Dortmund. So I'm really, really hopeful, and it's a promising lineup as well. Like, I'm so excited to see these players under the lights against the top European team. And I feel like players like Mudryk and Enzo Fernandez are built for this stage. There's a reason why they came to Chelsea for nights like this. Let's see them perform.
You find out what you're about on nights like tonight. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us. Very, very quickly, who do you think is going to be the difference maker tonight for Chelsea?
I'm going to go for Joao Felix. I think that he's just looked like an incredibly bright spark in this Chelsea attack, and I feel like he brings something different as well. So I think that he has the ability to be creative, to score goals. I think he's looking very, very sharp, so I'm going to go for him.
Fantastic work. Elizabeth, brilliant as always. Thank you very much. Enjoy the game. Fingers crossed we'll all be celebrating at full time. This is it, boys. This is what you dream of. This is what you're a fan of. If you're a Chelsea fan, these are the kind of nights that you get excited for. Wherever you are watching in the world, it's all about Chelsea versus Borussia Dortmund. A big test away in Germany tonight. Let's not forget, it is a big one. The Champions League is back.
Well, welcome everybody to our live coverage of this
League knockout phase begins just as their group stage began on the continent for their first meeting with a new opponent. Schürrle, Aubameyang and Pulisic are among the names they have in common over the years, but the two sides in action tonight have never shared a pitch for a competitive game. But tonight, Borussia Dortmund do become Chelsea's 200th opponent, and they get to do it inside their fiery cauldron of black and yellow too. The 81,000 capacity Westfalenstadion has twice sold out in the Champions League this season. Tonight's visit of the two-time European champions will no doubt run that figure close again, thanks to the 4,000 travelling Blues in attendance. The Pride of London have been so loud in their away support this season that even they will struggle to compete with the 25,000 strong yellow wall stood behind the goal to our left. Loud as they are though, even the most loyal among them will know all about their poor record against English clubs. Tonight's hosts are without a win in 10 games against English opponents, losing 8 of them. In fact, you have to go all the way back to this stage in 2016 for their last win over a Premier League side, Tottenham in the Europa League. To make things sound even more favourable for Chelsea, 3 of Borussia's last 4 home defeats in this competition have come at the hands of English opposition. But